I worked retail at a department store for 3 years, but I quit the day after Boxing Day 2023. I'll never forget what I saw on those security cameras. Our store opened at 6 a.m. for Boxing Day sales. I was working the returns desk, which was always a nightmare the day after Christmas. People returning gifts, exchanging sizes, demanding refunds without receipts, the usual chaos. Around 2 p.m., this woman came to my counter. She was holding a large box wrapped in Christmas paper that looked old. Not like bought last week old. The paper was yellowed and brittle. "I need to return this," she said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. I told her we needed the receipt and the item had to be from our store. She just stared at me and pushed the box across the counter. "I need to return this." The box felt heavy. Wrong. I noticed there was something wet seeping through the bottom corner of the wrapping paper. I asked her what was inside. "Open it," she said. My manager Chris came over because a line was forming. He took one look at the box and the woman and told me to take it to the back to inspect it. Standard procedure for anything unusual. I carried the box to our security office. The wetness soaked into my hands. It was cold and sticky. I set it down on the desk and my co-worker Jake was monitoring the cameras. I told him about the weird customer and started unwrapping the box. Jake suddenly grabbed my arm. "Stop," he said, pointing at the monitor showing the sales floor. The woman was still standing at the returns desk, but on the camera from 2 hours earlier, the timestamp showed 12:17 p.m. She was standing in the exact same spot, holding the same box, same position, same blank expression. We rewound further. 10:23 a.m. There she was again, same spot, same box. Jake went back to 6 a.m. when we opened. The second the doors unlocked and customers flooded in, she was standing at the returns desk. She didn't walk in. She was just there, like she'd been waiting. For 8 hours she'd been standing in that exact spot, holding that box, while hundreds of customers moved around her. None of the other camera angles showed her anywhere else in the store. She never moved, not once. I looked at the box on the desk. The wet spot had grown, spreading across the paper. It was dark red now, almost black. Jake called Chris on the radio and told him to check on the woman. We watched the monitor as Chris approached the returns desk. We saw him look around, confused. He radioed back, "What woman? There's nobody here." But we could see her, right there on the screen, standing inches from Chris, holding the box. He walked right past her position. I looked down at the desk. The box was gone. Jake's monitor went black. Then, one by one, all 12 security screens cut to static. When they came back online 5 seconds later, every single camera in the store showed the same thing. That woman, standing directly in front of each camera, holding the box out toward the lens. 12 different locations, same moment, same woman. The cameras cut out again. When they returned to normal, she was gone from all of them. I felt something cold touch the back of my neck. That sticky wetness. I turned around and the box was on the shelf behind me, unwrapped now. It was an old shoebox from our store, but from a brand we hadn't carried in over 40 years. There was a return receipt taped to the lid. The date stamped on it was December 26, 1983, exactly 40 years ago. The item description just said, "Returned." I didn't open it. Jake didn't open it. We got Chris and the three of us went to the general manager. She reviewed the footage herself, saw everything we saw, and called the police. The cops came and opened the box. They wouldn't tell us what was inside, but I saw one officer's face go pale. They took the box and told us the case was being handled by a detective who specialized in cold cases. I found out later from a friend who's a dispatcher that in 1983, a woman was murdered in our store's parking lot on Boxing Day. She was returning a pair of shoes. They never found her killer. The detective apparently told our GM that the shoes from 1983 were never recovered from the crime scene. I didn't go back for my next shift. None of us did. The store closed 3 months later. The building's been empty ever since, but if you drive past it on Boxing Day, people say they see someone standing at the front door, holding a box. This happened last year, December 26, 2024. I was house-sitting for my aunt while she was visiting family in Toronto. She has this old Victorian house in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. She told me her neighbors, the Caldwells, always hosted a Boxing Day brunch. She said they'd probably invite me over and I should go, they were nice people. Around 10 a.m. I heard a knock. I opened the door and there was this man, maybe mid-50s, wearing an expensive coat and holding a bottle of wine. He smiled and said, "You must be Sarah's niece. I'm Richard, from next door. We're having our annual Boxing Day gathering, and we'd love for you to join us." I'd seen their house big, well-maintained, lights on. Seemed normal. I said sure, I'd come by in an hour. When I walked over at 11, the front door was unlocked. Richard had said to just come in. I stepped inside and called out hello. The house was warm, decorated with Christmas stuff, and I could smell food cooking. But nobody answered. I walked through the foyer into the living room. The TV was on, playing some old movie. There were plates set out on the dining table like someone was about to serve food. I called out again. Then I heard footsteps upstairs. "Come on up," a woman's voice said. "We're just getting dressed. Make yourself at home." I sat down on the couch and waited. The movie on TV was one of those black and white films from the 1950s. I noticed a family photo on the mantle, Richard, a woman who must be his wife, and 2 teenage kids. They were all smiling, dressed formally, like it was taken at a wedding. After about 10 minutes, nobody had come downstairs. I called up again. No answer this time. I started feeling uneasy. Something about the house felt off. Too quiet, except for the TV. I stood up to leave and noticed the newspaper on the coffee table. It was dated December 26th, but not 2024. December 26, 2004. I grabbed my phone and Googled the address. The first result was a news article from 20 years ago. Family of 4 found dead in murder-suicide on Boxing Day. Richard Caldwell had killed his wife and 2 children before turning the gun on himself during their annual Boxing Day brunch. They estimated time of death around 11 a.m. I heard footsteps behind me. I spun around and Richard was standing in the doorway, still wearing that coat, holding the wine bottle. He was smiling. "I'm so glad you could make it," he said. "We don't get many visitors anymore. Please stay for brunch. My wife is almost ready." I could see through him. Not completely, he was there, solid, but the wall behind him was visible through his chest, like he was a projection. I ran for the front door. It was locked now, deadbolt turned. I could hear more footsteps upstairs, multiple people walking around. A woman's voice called down, "Richard, is our guest staying?" I went out the back door, jumped the fence, and ran to my aunt's house. I locked every door and window and called her. She went silent when I told her what happened. Then she said, "Sweetheart, the Caldwells haven't lived there in 20 years. That house has been empty since the murder. No one will buy it." I looked out the window at their house. Every light was off. No decorations. The driveway was cracked and overgrown with weeds. It clearly hadn't been maintained in decades. But I'd been inside. I'd seen the lights, the food, the TV playing. My aunt picked me up that night. Before I left, I looked at the Caldwell house one more time. There was someone standing in the upstairs window. Richard. He raised his hand and waved at me. The next day, my aunt drove past the house in daylight and took a photo to show me the place was abandoned. In the photo, you can see someone standing in the front doorway. It's me, wearing the same clothes I wore on Boxing Day, holding a plate of food, smiling at the camera. I've never been back to that neighborhood. My girlfriend Emma and I spent Christmas 2023 at her parents' cabin in rural Washington. It's pretty isolated. The nearest neighbor is 3 miles away. We were supposed to leave on the 26th, but a storm rolled in overnight and we got snowed in. Emma's parents had gone back to the city on Christmas night, so it was just the 2 of us. We figured we'd make the best of it, have a cozy day inside until the roads cleared. Around noon on Boxing Day, Emma was cleaning up in the kitchen and I was taking down the Christmas tree. We were going to pack up all the decorations and haul them to the storage shed out back. That's when I noticed a present we'd missed. It was sitting under the tree, pushed way back against the wall. Medium-sized box, wrapped in plain brown paper with a white ribbon. No tag. I called Emma over and asked if it was from her parents. She said no, and we'd already opened everything. I checked with her parents over text. They said they didn't leave anything behind. Emma wanted to open it. I felt weird about it, but she said maybe it was from a neighbor who dropped it off as a surprise. She untied the ribbon. Inside was another box, wrapped in the same brown paper. We looked at each other, confused. Emma unwrapped the second layer. Another box, same wrapping. We kept going. Each box contained another wrapped box, getting smaller each time. It was like a Russian nesting doll situation, but every single layer was individually wrapped with brown paper and white ribbon. By the 10th box, Emma stopped laughing. "This isn't funny anymore," she said. "Who does this?" We were down to a box about the size of a deck of cards. I unwrapped it and inside was a Polaroid photograph. It was a picture of us, sitting on the couch in that cabin, opening the present, taken from across the room, maybe near the kitchen. Time-stamped, December 26th, 2023, 12:34 p.m. We looked at the clock on the wall. It was 12:35 p.m. The photo had been taken 60 seconds ago. Emma grabbed my arm. We both turned toward the kitchen, where the angle of the photo had been taken from. Nobody was there. The cabin was silent except for the wind outside. Then I noticed something in the Polaroid. In the background, behind us on the couch, there was a figure standing in the hallway. Tall, wearing dark clothes, face completely blurred out like someone had smudged the image. We didn't have a hallway behind that couch. That part of the cabin was just a wall. I heard a creak upstairs. Emma's parents' bedroom. We both looked at the ceiling. Another creak like someone walking slowly across the floor. Emma whispered, "We're the only ones here." I grabbed a poker from the fireplace and we moved toward the stairs. The footsteps stopped. I called up, asking if anyone was there. No answer. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Keep unwrapping." I looked at Emma. Her phone buzzed too. Same message. I looked down at the tiny box in my hand. There was still something inside. I could feel it shifting around. I opened it and pulled out a smaller piece of paper, folded up tight. Emma unfolded it. It was a list of names and dates, handwritten in pencil. David Chen, Deck 26, 2019 Rebecca Foster, Deck 26, 2018 Marcus and Julie Vance, Deck 26, 2020 Thomas Kern, Deck 26, 2022. At the bottom, in fresh ink, Emma Parcell and my name, Deck 26, 2023. I googled the first name. David Chen had disappeared from a cabin in Washington on Boxing Day 2019, never found. I checked the others, all missing persons cases, all from cabins in the same county, all on December 26 of different years. The footsteps upstairs started again, faster now, coming toward the stairs. We ran for the front door. It was frozen shut. Ice had sealed it completely. I tried the back door. Same thing. Every window was iced over, impossible to break through. Emma screamed. I turned, and someone was standing at the top of the stairs. Tall figure, wearing all black, face hidden in shadow. They were holding a box wrapped in brown paper with a white ribbon. They started walking down the stairs toward us, one step at a time, holding out the box like they were offering a gift. I grabbed a chair and smashed the living room window. The glass shattered, but there was something behind it, like a wall of ice, several feet thick. We were sealed in. The figure reached the bottom of the stairs. They set the box down on the floor and slid it toward us. Then they turned and walked back upstairs, disappearing into the darkness of the second floor. Emma was crying. I picked up the box. It was light, almost empty. I unwrapped it. Inside was a Polaroid camera and a single photo card. Instructions printed on the card. Take a picture, leave it for the next ones. Keep the tradition alive. We heard a door open upstairs. The footsteps were coming back. I don't know why I did it, maybe shock, maybe some desperate hope it would make this stop. But I set up the camera with the self-timer, positioned it across the room, and Emma and I sat on the couch. The flash went off. The second the photo printed out, we heard the front door unlock. The ice on the windows cracked and fell away. The figure upstairs was gone. We grabbed our stuff and ran to the car. The roads were somehow clear, like it hadn't snowed at all. When we got home, I looked at the Polaroid from the camera. It showed Emma and me on the couch, but standing behind us in the photo was that figure. Tall, dark, face blurred, and in its hands was a wrapped present with our names on it. We reported everything to the police, gave them the list of names. They're investigating, but they told us all those cabins where people disappeared are owned by the same property management company. Emma's parents had rented through them. I got a call 2 weeks ago from a detective. They found David Chen's body buried near his cabin. In his hand was a Polaroid of him sitting on a couch, and behind him in the photo was the same blurred figure. They found similar photos with all the other victims. The detective asked me to send them the Polaroid we took. I told him I burned it. That was a lie. I still have it, because 3 days ago, something appeared in the photo that wasn't there before. In the background, behind the figure standing behind us, there's another wrapped present on the floor. It has today's date written on it.
I'm a paramedic in Chicago. December 26th is always busy people choking on leftovers, heart attacks from overexertion, the usual post-holiday calls. But last year, I responded to something I still can't explain. We got a 911 call around 9 p.m. from an apartment in Wicker Park. Female caller, mid-20s, said there was someone in her apartment who wouldn't leave. Dispatch noted she sounded calm, but insisted it was an emergency. My partner Luis and I arrived with 2 cops. The woman, Ashley, met us at the door. She was composed, not crying or panicking, but I could see her hands shaking. She said she'd been home alone all day after spending Christmas with her boyfriend. Around 6 p.m., she ordered food. When the delivery driver knocked, she opened the door and someone was standing in her hallway, just standing there, about 10 feet from her door. She described him as a man in his 30s, average height, wearing a red sweater and khaki pants. Like he was dressed for a Christmas party, she said. She figured he was visiting another apartment and didn't think much of it. She brought her food inside and closed the door. When she went back to the living room, the man was sitting on her couch. She screamed and asked how he got in. He didn't answer, didn't move. Just sat there, staring at her TV, which wasn't on. She ran to the bedroom and locked the door, called 911. The operator stayed on the line with her for 15 minutes until we arrived. She said she could hear him walking around her apartment the whole time, opening cabinets, running water, moving furniture. Luis and I went inside with the cops to clear the apartment. It's a small 1-bedroom. Took us maybe 90 seconds to check every room, every closet. Nobody was there. Ashley insisted he'd been inside. The cops were ready to chalk it up to stress, or maybe she'd imagined it. But I noticed something. Her kitchen cabinets were open, all of them. Every single one. And her couch had been moved. You could see the indentations in the carpet where it used to sit. It was now pushed against the wall at a weird angle, like someone had shoved it there. One of the cops asked if she'd rearranged furniture today. She said no, and pointed out that the couch was heavy, she couldn't move it alone. Then Luis found something. On the coffee table was a plate with food on it. Not Ashley's delivery, this was different. Ham, mashed potatoes, green beans. Like a full Christmas dinner. The food was fresh, still warm. Ashley started crying. She said she lived alone, hadn't cooked anything, and that plate wasn't there before. The cops took a report and told her to call if anything else happened. We cleared the scene. 20 minutes later, we got called back to the same address. Ashley said he was back. When we arrived, she was standing in the hallway outside her apartment, door wide open. She refused to go inside. She said she'd left for exactly 1 minute to knock on her neighbor's door for help, and when she came back, the man was sitting at her kitchen table. We went in again. Nobody there. But now there were 2 plates on the table, both with the same Christmas dinner, both still warm. 2 glasses of wine, both half empty. 2 chairs pulled out, like 2 people had been sitting there. I checked the wine bottle on the counter. It was a brand I recognized, expensive, and the bottle was dated 2003. I asked Ashley if it was hers. She said she didn't drink wine and had never seen that bottle before. One of the cops radioed for a detective. This was getting strange. While we waited, Ashley's neighbor came to the door, an older woman who'd lived in the building for 30 years. She asked what was going on, and Ashley explained. The neighbor went pale. She said, "What did he look like?" Ashley described him again. Red sweater, khakis, 30s, brown hair. The neighbor said that in 2003, a man named Roger Finch lived in Ashley's apartment. On Boxing Day that year, he had his girlfriend over for dinner. During the meal, they got into an argument and he strangled her. Then he hanged himself in the bedroom closet. They were found 3 days later by the landlord. Dinner was still on the table. The neighbor said Roger always wore a red sweater during the holidays. She remembered because she'd seen him in it the day before he died. Ashley's apartment had been renovated twice since then. New floors, new paint, new everything. But the layout was the same. The detective arrived and took statements from everyone. He checked old records and confirmed the murder-suicide. I could tell he thought we were all crazy, but he couldn't explain the food or the wine. Before we left, I went into the bedroom. I don't know why, just instinct. I opened the closet. There were 2 sets of clothes hanging inside that weren't there during our first check. A red sweater and khakis on one hanger. A black dress on another. I called everyone in to look. Ashley confirmed those weren't her clothes. The detective bagged them as evidence. Later, the lab confirmed the sweater had DNA matching Roger Finch from the 2003 investigation. Ashley moved out the next day. I don't blame her. 2 weeks ago, I saw a news story about that building. New tenant in the same apartment called 911 on December 26th, said someone was in her apartment, sitting on the couch, wearing a red sweater. Police cleared the apartment. Nobody there. But when they checked the kitchen, there were 2 plates on the table with Christmas dinner, still warm.